I'm pretty excited today because this is the first time that we have been able to get back into our studio to actually record a radio segment. We are trying to do some social distancing here. I've got John with 12 masks on and a hazmat suit, and my guest here will introduce her here in a moment as well. I think we're about 6 feet apart, but it's interesting being back into an office. So what are we talking about on this segment? I want to talk about jobs in the tech fields. I know there's a lot of students out there in Canada that are freaking out right now because this is the worst financial crisis to hit us, I would say, since the Great Depression. And they're thinking, what am I going to do for a job? Well, we've got Chris Pereira here today. He's been in the technology industry for many years. He is actually with Huawei Canada, so he gets tech. He is the Senior Director of Public Affairs over there, and I want to thank you for coming in.
No, it's great to be here with you, Mike. And this topic is very, very pertinent for a lot of young people right now. So I'm glad to talk to it.
Yeah, I know you guys, pour literally hundreds of millions of dollars into research here in Canada, and I know you know this space so well. That's why I wanted to have you in. So students are freaked out. I've talked to a number of them, and jobs are hard to find right now. So I wanted to get some tips from you on what students can do out in the workforce right now to, I guess, stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I've like you, I've talked to a lot of students recently on LinkedIn, especially. A lot of young people have reached out, new graduates especially. As you mentioned last month, the cohort that just graduated is graduating into the worst economy in living memory in some cases, and competing with the experienced workers who have also lost their jobs in some cases. So I think in this conversation, I wanted to give some real hands-on advice that after hearing it, you can use it right away in your life to help find the next job.
Let's get right into it. So what is the first tip you have?
Yeah, so if I were to give one piece of advice to young people right now, it would be to get onto LinkedIn, make sure your profile looks great. So that advice isn't surprising. But what might be a bit off the beaten track is a function on LinkedIn which allows you to ask for a reference or a recommendation. And that's not just about skill recommendation. It's actually a blurb about you that someone can write saying that you're a good human being, basically. So if you just graduated, you've got a cohort of 50, 100, 150 people that you might know. Even if you haven't had a drink with them or studied with them, been in a group before, you know of them. If you build that connection, say there's 50 people that you think you can reach out to in the next 24 hours by email or phone, by this time tomorrow, you could have 50 recommendations on your LinkedIn saying you're a good person. And that, for me, as a hiring manager in a business department, if I see someone with 50 recommendations, I don't care what degree you've got, I'm going to look twice at that profile.
It means 50 people somehow like you and think you're not crazy.
Yeah, exactly. 50 people are saying you're not crazy, so it does go to a certain degree.
No, it's funny because I think of my LinkedIn page, and I've had my own company, I think now for 16 years, and previous ones to that as well. So I'm probably not the best at updating it all the time. I don't even think I have 50 recommendations. I don't know if I even have 10.
No, exactly. I think the degree matters to a certain degree. It tells me that person has persevered for 4 years at doing something. It doesn't tell me much about their personality or what they're doing as a person. But having a human being just say, "Hey, I'm willing to put my reputation on the line to recommend this person," that in reality, when you're looking for someone who's trustworthy in a job, apart from the skills side, it's very convincing for me. I see that.
So it shows you that somehow this person has interpersonal skills of some type. How much would you weight that? Like if you're looking at a job candidate?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. A student recently asked me also whether they should do a master's degree. In other words, how important is a degree in my view? So first, it depends what you want to do, and it's just a reality of life that if you want to be a doctor or an engineer, you need to have a degree to have access to that market. But in tech, it's not necessarily the case. If you want to program, if you want to do research, tech tends to care more about what you can do rather than what your piece of paper is. And I lived in China for 15 years, and I can't tell you how many people I met who have an English degree who can't speak English. So the degree tells me basically one thing right off the bat is they've dedicated themselves to something for 4 years, which is something, right? It's impressive to have done that.
Well, it's interesting because some big tech companies, I think even Apple and Google now, used to be a requirement that you'd have to have a university degree. Mm-hmm. They've dropped that now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not surprising. I think the degree itself should to some extent show what you can do. But as we all know, if you think of the people in your life, there's different gradients of skill in different industries, and it matters what you can actually do. And that brings me to the other point of wanting to, when you do have your interview, whether it's on Zoom or in person, it's good to see a human being, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, I know. It's weird.
But if you're talking to a hiring manager, the communication skills are really important.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And we're all more connected than ever in terms of sending text messages and videos, connecting by Zoom. But my experience is the ability to communicate well, look someone in the eye, be able to have a real conversation. That goes a long way in an interview also, because at the end of the day, the person hiring you is also a human being. And if you connect and show them that you're trustworthy and you care about the job you want to apply for, then that could be the winning combination.
What about the introverts out there? They might not be as outgoing or confident as some.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a lot. When you're a student, you haven't built up that experience and confidence level yet. What can you do to build that up?
Yeah. I can tell you, thinking back to 15 years ago, myself, if I told myself back then that I would be sitting here in this chair in front of this scary microphone talking to Mike Agarbo, I wouldn't believe I would be doing that, because I consider myself an introverted extrovert.
Yeah.
Or extroverted. Yeah.
Somewhere in
something like that.
Yeah.
I don't, speaking doesn't come naturally to me, or it didn't in the past. And I think to achieve that, to get to that level, if you're an introvert right now or not comfortable speaking to people, my advice would be to trust the process of daily improvement. So you're going to have to push beyond your comfort zone. You don't have to explode your comfort zone and go stand up on stage in front of 1,000 people or start a YouTube channel right away. Right? But
practice with friends and family.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. So spend 20 minutes a day, ask a friend, hey, can I practice some interview questions with you? Yeah. And it might feel like you're wasting your time the first week.
It's not. It's practice, right? Because it builds up confidence. Because, you're going to have, hopefully, these friends and family ask questions that you might not have even thought would be asked of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like learning a language. The first week you're going to learn some words and go out and try it, and no one understands you, and you're going to feel like, oh, well, I just wasted a whole week of trying to learn Spanish or Chinese, whatever it is. But over time, if you learn one word every day in practice, at the end of the year, you're going to have 300 words if you just one word a day, right?
Okay, Chris. So make sure your LinkedIn is all set properly. Make sure that you're getting recommendations from friends and acquaintances that know you. Practice having an interview on Zoom and over the phone and in person, of course. But I think a lot of them will be online right now. What else can students do?
My last recommendation for students that you can really take into consideration today is to be all in your decision. In other words, don't compromise because it's a tough job market. Set a goal for, the top 20 companies that you want to work for. Maybe it's a small company, maybe a big company, but set that goal. Decide where you want to work. So just as an example, I've spoken to a lot of international students from China and India recently. And the question is it a good idea to stay in Canada given COVID-19, given the politics that are going on in North America right now? Is it good to have a family here, for example, in 10 years, 20 years? And my suggestion to them is it doesn't matter which place you choose, China, India, or Canada, but be all in. Don't be halfway in Canada, and when you run into a problem, go back to China.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you run into a problem here, you need to persevere and get through it, and that's how you move up, right? So when you, and the same goes for finding the position that you want. Eventually, you're going to get a job offer that you kind of like, but not really, and you're going to be thinking, well, if I take this, if I don't take this, maybe I'll be out of work for another couple months. But that's not the right question you should be asking yourself. The right question should be, if I take this, what if the right one comes tomorrow? What if the jobs I'm going to apply for tomorrow will be the one I actually like? So don't compromise and be all in your decisions, despite the challenges.
We're talking with Chris Pereira. He is the Senior Director of Public Affairs over at Huawei Canada about what students in this job market right now can do to set themselves apart. Thanks for joining us today, Chris.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube page. And that little bell icon, hit that and you'll be notified every time we post a new video. And comment. The more comments and the more likes and subscriptions we get, the more videos we can make.